I was right about the PlayStation 5. I was right. I knew about it. Welcome to PinoyVideoGamer. My name is Edwin. Okay, so ngayon, pag-uusapan natin is the PS5 or the PlayStation 5 for the past few months. Of course, makikita na natin, we can give some impressions. I don't own a PlayStation 5 myself, pero I made this few impressions on the PS5. I noted, I mentioned there that the system was half-baked compared to the Xbox Series X and S. Half-baked because of hindi gumagana yung expandable storage. You have to use a USB. Problem naman sa USB, hindi ka pwede mag-save sa external drive. So, yun yung isa sa mga issues. Tapos, I think na-mention ko na hindi comparable masyado ang PlayStation Now versus dun sa Xbox Game Pass. So, yun yung mga napag-usapan ko before. So, ngayon, I want to be clear. I might have made a few wrong impressions, but I don't think so far. So, nababalitaan ko rin kasi na may mga YouTubers din na already either boxing their PS5s or just leaving it in the dust for the reason na wala sila malaro, or mga iba binibenta pa nila yung PS5 nila kasi they're not using it anymore. Of course, it will take time bago magkaroon ulit ng proper library ang PS5s, pero it still has the PS4, so if you skip the generation, it's still a good console to get. For clarification, the Xbox is not also free from issues. Meron ding issues ang Xbox. One issue sa Xbox is that meron siyang performance issue. Pero ang performance issue niya is more on the Xbox is trying to push harder to get high resolutions. So, pero ang nangyayari doon, nagkakaroon siya ng dips in frame rates. Pero actually, ito as in performance, you can, it's negligible. Depende na siguro kung anong point of view mo. Some people would say the PS5 is performing better because of a stable frame rate, habang sabihin na iba, Xbox is performing better because it's pushing more pixels than the PlayStation 5. So it really depends on your point of view. Yung Xbox meron din controller disconnection. Pero so far I have not experienced any form of controller disconnection, so I really can't say much about that. Mga iba nagko-compare about the Blu-ray player, pero I don't think this is significant for the reason that the Blu-ray player itself, ang Sony needs to really step up their game on the Blu-ray player. It's not really their forte. For whatever reason, they don't need to focus on how really good the Xbox is a Blu-ray player is. All it needs to do is to be a competent Blu-ray player. They're not competing with Blu-ray players in the first place. Pero for Sony has to make a really good Blu-ray player for the reason that they made Blu-ray. They invented Blu-ray, so they have to make sure that it works, that it's a really good Blu-ray player. They have no reason not to be a good Blu-ray player. If Microsoft makes a better Blu-ray player, nakakahiya yun sa Sony. Mga iba nagre-reklamo about the Xbox din is the interface is lackluster. Pero if you think about it, they always update their consoles, especially nung nag-start sa 360. Ang idea ng Microsoft is for you to be not left out. So yung magkakaroon ng point na yun nga, yung Xbox One, sa ngayon, ang ginawa talaga nila is dapat identical. I think this is more of unifying all the systems. Pero I do think at some point, hindi na nila i-update yung dashboard. At some point, not now, but maybe 3 or 4 years from now, feeling ko baka i-disable nila yung, they'll make a new dashboard for the Xbox Series X and S, tapos may iiwanan din yung Xbox One. I have that feeling that might happen. Pero right now, it's a transitional phase, so they made sure that it's identical. So I think it's really a decision they made to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the system. The issues with the PlayStation 5, I mentioned it earlier, yung mga issues niya na I mentioned on my original video, which is not much games. But compared to the Xbox, mas maraming games na bago ang PlayStation 5. Like, can't doubt about that. Ang difference nila is because of Game Pass, Xbox is just showing up with more games to play, not really new games or new games specifically for the Xbox Series X and S, but they have tons of games. Comparison to the PlayStation, if ever you're subscribed to PlayStation Now and the PlayStation Plus service, they're offering older games. Because of that, Xbox is a bit more leading in terms of service. If you're just gonna compare hardware, ang pinaka-flaw ng system is the expansion. Pero that was expected. Yun nga, wala siyang expandable drive. So, you'd presume na they'll do something about the USB ports. So, you kind of expect that it somehow should work. Naggulat lang, I suppose, marami sa atin, na PS5 games cannot transfer files sa external hard drives. So, you're kind of stuck with the old games. If kung mahilig ka pa maglaro ng mga AAA games at yung mga Call of Duty, maubusan ka talaga ng drive really, really quickly. Tapos, another thing that I didn't expect was that yung mga issues ng mga tao with whatever they're gonna download. Kasi somehow, yung sa PlayStation 5, pag nag-download ka ng game, it somehow downloads, I don't know what version. So, some people are downloading the PS4 version instead of the PS5 that they wanted. So, it's kind of confusing and it's kind of irritating a lot of people. Tapos, add the fact na yung save files pa, hindi na convert ng maayos or masakit sa ulo ang conversion niya. I'm really, I think all of those issues are piling up na mga ibang users ng PlayStation is getting irritated. Maingay ang PlayStation 5, but really, this really depends on what version you're gonna get. Apparently, nung ginawa nila yung mga PlayStation, they had different suppliers sa mga fans. Ang problem lang dito, yung quality nila is different. Meron mga iba tahimik, meron mga iba maingay. And some people, even some influencers, got the noisy ones. That is an issue. Kasi you get to compare it to the Xbox, and the Xbox so far is really quiet. So far, wala akong naririnig na maingay ang fan ng Xbox. And personally, for me, yung Xbox ko is really, really quiet. Another thing I didn't expect is the controller drift ng PlayStation 5 controllers. As in, that's a really big surprise to me. Controller drift happens talaga. As in, I don't think we can get away from that kasi all controllers, I think, eventually breaks down at some point. I've read somewhere that it's somehow around 200 hours of usage lang ang controller ng PS5 and it might get a controller drift issue. So that's way too early for that to break. Sana man lang may calibration system na ginagawa sa PlayStation 5, but no. What I didn't expect from Sony was a lot of other things, which really surprised, which kinda disappointed me about Sony. Okay, so mga issues na nangyari lately is yung isasara na daw ang PS3 and PSP stores. I'll talk about the Vita in a few minutes. Shutting those two down might not be a big issue, but it is a big issue especially kung retro gamer ka. That is a big issue for the reason na yung PS3 is actually hard to emulate. Kung meron ka mga PS3 games na hindi pa na-convert to the PS4, the PS5 versions, you're gonna be out of luck. Kasi you can't buy any of those games anymore sa digital version. That might be an issue. At the same time, ganun din sa PSP. Well, the PSP is not a powerful system, but still, if you want to play PSP games, magsasara na nga yung store. You really have to get if you want to get your games, just get your games there now bago magsara. About the Vita store, that is an issue. That is a really big issue. For the reason na PlayStation has been still selling SDK kits, yung mga development kits para sa developers. And that was like less than a year ago nung nagbebenta sila. As mag-a-announce sila na isasara nila yung stores. As in, they didn't really consider yung mga developers na gumagawa pa ng games dito, and some games just released last year. Kawawa naman tong mga gumagawa ng mga games sa Vita. Didn't Sony consider that they just bought these kits hits or they're developing these games or kakalabas na ng mga game. Sana kung stagnant na yung store for several years. I can't say how many, but for several years na talagang walang bibili. Maybe that's the time na pwede mo isara. Katulad ng nga, it's possible na PlayStation 3 pati PSP, baka mahina talaga yung sales ngayon. But Vita is still a pretty good system, I think. I am kinda shocked na biglang isasara nila yung stores. I don't think that's a good way to get into that. I did hear na magkakawang baka may patent nga ang PlayStation to make regarding emulation. I don't know when they plan to do something about this. Maybe sometime soon. Let's hope for that. Because I really want older games to run sa PS5 and the PS4. So kahit sa PS5 man lang. Basta make sure that these games will run. Na lahat ng binili ng tao. Sana umandar pa rin even so many years. Tapos, ang masakit pa, I suppose, pero this was not something na controlled ng PlayStation, is yung MLB The Show. That's more of Major League Baseball ang decision maker doon. But it does affect Sony. Kasi, how does people see that? Ang Sony is making games for Xbox. I think for some people, medyo nagulat talaga doon because that's gonna be what? Blasphemy! PlayStation, Sony making games for Xbox, that shouldn't be happening. But, walang decision yung Sony doon. And yung pinramis pa ng MLB is that it's gonna be on Game Pass day 1. But note, Microsoft has been also doing games for the PlayStation. You have to think about it. Minecraft is under Microsoft now, and they're still developing that for the PlayStation. So in a sense, it's not weird. It has been done before. So, yun lang. Developer lang talaga yung Sony at this title. Pero yeah, you can't hide the fact na medyo affected yung mga ibang PlayStation fans about this. And I think sa buong industry, it's just shocking. Pero understandable. But this is good all around, especially now I'm curious to try baseball. Really, I have no intentions of playing baseball until now. So why not? Because it's there. So I'm gonna try it out. I'm not a sports fan, but now I'm willing to try it. I'm not an Xbox fan. I know a lot of people say this, that they're not Xbox fans or PlayStation fans, whatever. It's just how Sony handled this. Microsoft hasn't handled it well either. But they handled it better. Yung steps na ginagawa nila is more focused on what they want to do. They really want to focus this as a really good service. Yung mga moves na ginagawa ng Sony is a bit disappointing. It's just a combination of this that is affecting people to lose interest in Sony. I don't think this is really a hardware issue. Yeah, may problem yung internal expandable slots, tapos yung controller issue. But really, I just think this is more of a management issue, which also affects the hardware. Problem nila is para sa akin, they released this console too early. Xbox seems like was more ready. Kasi yung mga issues nila, yeah, there are technical issues, but it's just that. It's just a technical issue. But all their moves is pretty good. Wala namang problem out of the box yung Xbox Series X and X. Kung meron man, it's usually an isolated case, but not a general case. I just think that dapat Sony should have waited another year. They should have waited. I know ang dun is affected yung mga iba kasi Xbox got this year, or if that happened, Xbox would have gotten that year. But still, if they waited for a year, I think, and made sure that everything on the hardware was working perfectly, And if they waited for a year and gathered more games on the start, they might have gotten a better year. Really, it just feels that they. No, that's why I said it's half baked. They rushed it so much that it was flawed. The hardware is not the flaw. The software is not the flaw. It's how they managed everything else. Okay, so we don't know the console wars or whatever. Pero sometimes you do see who the clear winner on which generation did. Like example is when the PlayStation 1 came out, it really beat out Nintendo 64 and Sega Saturn. So it really depends. In the long run, yun nga, may possibility that the PlayStation would still have a better generation, but PlayStation would be remembered as having a difficult start this generation compared to the Xbox. Xbox has been really making good moves. They made a few bad ones, but in general, they made most of them has been good moves. While PlayStation has been struggling. It had a good release. A lot of people are buying. So in terms of selling, they don't have issues. But through the 5 months that they just started, they have been really, really struggling to get really good news for them. If you want to see my previous video, I'll put a link below. Anyway, thank you very much for everyone. My newest thank you is for I am Kokak because I had a good chat with him through Twitch. So thank you. I'll take note of those things that you've mentioned to me, and hopefully I can get better videos out of the door. If you want to check out comics, movies, scoops, check out Geekosity. Anyway, thank you very much, and bye-bye.